process, how fund should be selected, and how a portfolio review is being done, what we used to do earlier, and how we can do it in a better way. So let's quickly understand. So there are certain websites, certain paid softwares which we are using in terms of identifying the process, the way we should choose the right fund. So let's take uh, a simple example. Okay, let me just take simple example. Let me just open a whiteboard. I think it would become very interesting. Uh, so what are the qualities? If you have to create a portfolio, as I said, asset allocation is very important. So let me just share my experience. So for a portfolio, 20%, if we put it in debt fund, I think is a decent one. So 20% of the portfolio should be into debt funds. It can be into debt, PPF, FD. Say, for example, I'm assuming if you are saving 100 rupees, okay, if someone is saving 100 rupees, 20% should go into debt, PFs, etc. 10% should go into gold, 10% should go into international equities, 30% we can simply pull it in equities, and balance 10% equities, where we usually prefer multi-cap instead of large, mid, or small. So multi-cap, it gives a fund the flexibility to move into large, mid, and small as per the, their various baskets. 90%, and balance 10%, it completely depends upon a person's willingness. Suppose if I can see some names out here, Kamal, Chintan. So suppose if Kamal is a very aggressive guy and he says that, no, I'm okay with 40% equity. So we will give him and push a 40% equity for him. We can give him a mid-cap fund or something like that. But on the other hand, say suppose there is a lady who is saving her hard-earned money and she does not want to take much risk. So maybe we can increase the risk of the portfolio maybe to 30-40% into debt fund, something like that. So that's how the entire asset allocation should be. Many a times this question come, how should we decide the overall asset allocation? You can also take balance funds also, balance advantage. There are certain funds whereby funds has a, they manage it. When the market is up, they put it into equities. They are more into equities, and market goes down, they can change the asset allocation of the portfolio. So these are managed by funds. This balanced advantage fund. So these are actively managed by mutual funds. So traditionally, these funds as a category, they have done very well. So somebody who does not want to go again into 100% equities, a certain element of balance can be added. But if this is an overall asset allocation, I will run a portfolio for you, a scenario where you will get to see that, in fact, even the worst time, in fact, this current year when equity market was virtually negative, if we maintain this portfolio with this asset allocation, overall return can be between 18 to 20%, has been 18 to 20%. So we have done some back testing, and I will just show you the result. You would really be amazed that how asset allocation works. बहुत बार क्या होता है, many a times we ask client that, put into gold. They said, no, I don't want to put into gold. Gold is overpriced. I'm saying I'm creating a portfolio for 10 years, not for now. So many a times we, tell people to put it into debt funds. They are not very comfortable. But don't take it as a part that, I want an aggressive portfolio. There's nothing called aggressive. There is nothing called defensive. And plus, one very important thing here is that, if you are willing to take higher risk, that does not translate into higher returns. Again, higher risk does not translate into higher returns. That is something very important.
I think sort of the 20% is still left. So 20%.
So wait, I was coming to that balance part actually, I was sorry, I just missed out that. I was coming to, it can be a balance fund, and balance can be, this 10% should, it completely depends upon your scenario. It completely depends upon the way a person wants. If he wants more to be skewed towards debt, less to be too skewed towards debt. So this portfolio should give a client a very, a decent stuff. So That is the reason why asset allocation is very important. And now comes, after asset allocation, what comes is portfolio rebalancing. Abhi, what happens? Say suppose 100 rupees we have divided in this manner. This year, let's assume that gold fund has performed very very well, and almost gold assume karte hain 50,000 to 75,000 ho gaya. Gold has moved to 75,000. So what will happen? Your allocation into gold will increase very drastically because gold has given a 50% return. Agar up, if you include the return, what will happen? Weightage of the gold in entire portfolio will go up very, very drastically. Let's assume we give 30% to debt. Okay, we give 30% to debt. And so suppose gold has given very good return. Gold weightage has gone up on the overall portfolio and equity has not performed well. And equity weightage has come down to 25%. So what you have to do, you have to book profits from gold. आपको क्या करना है? You have to book profits in gold fund because your allocation should be 10%. Once the corrections is happening, not a very easy job, you will not be able to catch the top, catch the bottom, but at least once a year we can do this periodic rebalance. If gold has gone up 15%, we can book profit into gold and we can move to equities, if equities is available cheaper. As I said, that crude fund, that 10 balance 10%, at this point of time can also be allocated to the crude fund because crude is down. So book profit and put it into some asset class which is available cheap. So I'll just show two portfolios.
Elaborate about one or two crude funds because Facebook पे भी एक दो जन पूछ रहे हैं on
Yeah.
Zoom. I think also one or two people are asking.
Okay, so there is DSP World Energy Fund is there. Okay, so this is the only fund which has a crude. You can play crude with this fund, so you don't have to go to derivatives market. So DSP, earlier its name was DSP BlackRock. Now BlackRock is no more. So DSP World Energy Fund is there. So you can use that. Okay. Now let me just come to process of fund selection. So once we have done this, so now what I think this is visible to all.
Yes.
Yeah, screen. So I'll just take you to a portfolio. So let's assume there is a portfolio. Okay, and this is a live portfolio of, say, for example, of a client. So what has happened? This is a portfolio which a person is running for last 10 years. Okay, the person is running this portfolio from last 10 years, and we know that top 100 has been a very very good fund initially, but now it is not performing, and good SIP was going. So what has happened? See, this fund, these two fund weightage has actually gone up to 50%, and so there is ICICI top 100, HDFC hybrid, Birla frontline, DSP opportunities, blue chip. So what has happened? Client is having a view that I have put money into 6 different buckets and my portfolio is very well diversified. हमने 6 fund ले लिया है, so I have done diversifying the assets. But if you look at the performance of all these 6 funds, if you just look at the average return of last 5 years has been around 6%, which is almost equal to an, I would say, an FD or something like that. Our last 3-year average return is very, very poor because we are thinking we have taken 6 funds, but actually you have taken only 2 funds. Why you have taken 2 funds? See, look at the correlation. Correlation means what is the commonality between 2 funds. So let's look at this 2 fund. Almost 94% these are common. If you look at Axis Blue Chip and Builder Frontline, again 95% stuffs are common. So most up, but we have felt that we have 6 funds, but look at the correlation, it is almost more than 90%. So the fund selection has not been correct, and plus look at the weightage which 2 fund has actually gone. It has gone beyond 50%. So again, we have taken a huge risk on the entire portfolio, and because of that the return has not been satisfactory. And we feel, as I said initially, everybody does this mistake. So what can be done? So I'll just again share one suggested portfolio. So yeah, value versus growth we will take on. So abhi isi ka whatever funds has been taken, let us do again a fund analysis. Okay, let us go to the fund and let us compare all the funds. and let us analyze the risk return part of this portfolio. Okay. So now just look at the risk return analysis. BAF, ICICI Balanced Fund. As I said, balance category, it does debt and equity mix. So just look at the kind of risk. ये x axis में risk है and y axis which is being plotted, there is an annualized return. Okay. So look at the kind of return that the fund has generated. Almost 11% CAGR return has come, and with such a very low risk. Your standard deviation, which determines the risk of the overall portfolio, has been very low. So risk adjusted return has been very, very high in this portfolio. But vis-a-vis, just compare HDFC hybrid, probably, where the risk is 16% and the return is 8%. So as I said, higher risk does not lead to higher return. Let's look at Mirai. It is taking the same risk which all other funds are doing, but look at the return. So this shows the efficiency of the portfolio, efficiency of the fund manager, and how things are moving. And based upon that, we should take a action. Okay, now we should come out of all these funds. These funds, 3, 4 funds, all are of similar nature. They have not performed well, and I have shown that most of the portfolios are very, very common. So let's look at the commonality of all these funds. As I've shown you, just see, you have taken 6 funds, but virtually you have just taken 2 funds, sir. A balanced fund which is there, whereby risk reward is on the very, very favorable side, but all other funds, the correlation is very, very high. So if market will move up, all 6 will move in direction. Some will perform better, some will perform to least extent. But overall portfolio is skewed towards as if there are only 1 or 2 funds. There is not 6 funds. So let us just run another portfolio which we back tested, and we found out that what kind of portfolio we can make, and what should have been done. So let me just take you first to the entire portfolio. See, this is just a back tested. ऐसा नहीं है कि this return will come. Okay. That this return will come, but at least this portfolio, this diversification will ensure that we will not do bad. This will definitely ensure that we will not do bad. So just look at this portfolio where I have 20% allocation into debt funds, 30, 40% allocation into equities, 15, and one mid-cap fund, 10%, one international fund, 2 balanced fund, as I said, 20, 20, 10, 10, 2 balanced fund, and 10% into gold. So if we simply run this portfolio, or probably any client would have had this portfolio, just look at last 5-year average return would be 11.5%, almost double than the other fund. Where you imagine we have taken 30% debt fund. 30% is debt fund in this portfolio. Virtually there is gold, which is like, does not tend to perform well at certain times. Even if you remove the performance of the gold, still 20% gold, and this balance fund also contains certain element of debt. So 25 to 30% debt fund, still we are able to manage such kind of a performance where the risk is low and the return is high. So idea is not that, you take high risk and high return will come. That does not happen. The idea is that, within the low risk, by taking a low risk, how you can generate a slight higher returns and how you can do that. And that's what asset allocation does. I'll tell you one simple secret is that, 95% of your portfolio return will be determined by asset allocation. And asset allocation does not take more than 10 minutes. Suppose if I sit with a client, 20% debt, 10% gold, equities. So that conclusion, that just gets concluded in 10 minutes, not more than that. Where we spend most of our time in terms of selecting a fund. I will say ICICI blue chip, he will say SBI blue chip, and then the discussion happens. Why not this and why not that? So a lot of discussions happen on that. But 95% your job is being done if you do a proper asset allocation. Funds could be okay, 1 or 2 plus minus. That does not have even if in this portfolio, if we take some of the non-performing funds like HDFC top 100 or some other funds, still portfolio return would be 8% CAGR instead of the current 10% CAGR, which is still better looking at the kind of performance we have had in last 3 years, where overall equities have not performed at all. Only top 10 stocks has performed, TCS and XYZ. The rest have not performed. So now just look at the correlation of this portfolio. Last time we have seen the correlation was very, very high, sub red tha, almost 90%. But if we look at the correlation of this portfolio, so very different. Only one or two funds are having a similar kind of a portfolio, like ICICI BAF or and this Mirai Asset Blue Chip, and this one Kotak Balanced and Mirai Blue Chip. So these, since they are again large cap funds, so in large cap we know that six, seven, eight names, bigger names will be there. Not people will be there. So that is the way of choosing a fund. So and making a portfolio. As I said, if your asset allocation is okay, suppose one or two equity fund does not perform, still it would be much better than by not doing asset allocation. That is something very, very important. So this is how, our approach has been to fund selection, fund criteria. Earlier, as I said, as a financial advisor, we also did a lot of mistakes. Like a common people, we also look at returns. कि कहाँ सबसे ज़्यादा return आ रहा है last year में, and let's try and go with that fund, assuming that that will do good in future. But that does not happen. That does not happen. At times you might be lucky, but at times you might not be lucky. So again, based on the learnings, based upon certain research tools which we are adopting, so all these things have come up. And again, while selecting a fund, now again, there are few softwares, there are few vendors who are providing a score to the respective funds that select this fund. So again, we are also taking those portals so that we can also qualify, take the like quantify the total asset quality of that fund. Now the question says, suppose now the question will come, why I'm selecting a Mirai Asset Blue Chip or why not XYZ Blue Chip? Because of the quality of portfolio. And how do I keep a check on quality of a portfolio? As I said, there are certain vendors who are giving a quality score based upon the profitability of the company, based upon the return on equity, based upon how their prices have moved in last 4 or 5 years. So they are quantifying all these data, which is helping us in terms of selecting the right portfolio. And when the score goes down, next year when we review the portfolio, we will definitely change that fund and we will bring a new fund and replace it with the better funds, like uh, certain funds which are there, like HDFC Top 100. Why it is not performing? Because if you look at as per the data which we get, the quality score, out of 20 parameters, they are getting a score of 13, and Axis Blue Chip has got a score of 16, 17. So that is why Axis Blue Chip has performed, because the quality of companies which are there in the portfolio, their profitability is growing very better in a in a much better way. Their return on equity is very, very high. They have performed better in terms of this turbulent times, be it COVID, XYZ stuff. So based on these parameters, they have done well, and we are getting those quantitative scores and we are mapping it. So this is how the entire portfolio is there, and we can monitor the portfolio, we can review it, how things can go. Just quickly, I'll just run up another portfolio, uh, which we were discussing with one of the clients just few days back. So again, so many funds are there. If you see, 14 funds are there. 12 to 14 funds are there. One retirement savings fund. For Kotak, he's having 3 funds. For Birla, again, 3 funds, ICICI long term, L&T. But again, so many funds, but what has been the performance? Last 3 year performance has been very, very unsatisfactory. Last 5 year is good because mid cap, small cap did very, very well. But last 3 years has been very, very bad. Why? Because all equity funds are there. There is no asset allocation, no diversification, and huge volatility in the portfolio. So that is why asset allocation and portfolio rebalancing is very, very important as a overall part. So now